Hey guys, Julie here and welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. This week I'm going to be finishing up the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. If you haven't already seen part 1 where I read the first book in the series, then I will leave a link to that down in the description so you could go ahead and check that out. But after that video, I did go on to finishing The Wicked King, which is the second book in the series. So in this video, I'm going to be reading The Queen of Nothing. This is the third and final book in the Folk of the Air series. And then I'm also going to be reading How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. This is a companion novel in Cardan's point of view, and it is also illustrated, so that's beautiful. We're gonna go through this later, but first I just want to talk about this book right here because I have some thoughts. First of all, we were making some good progress between Cardan and Jude, and then they got married for political reasons, and she became his queen, and then he exiles her to the mortal world. Why? Why are you playing with my feelings? Also, Taryn. Oh my god, I despise Taryn. Okay, so in part 1, I explained that I didn't like Jude's identical twin sister, Taryn, because they were both dating Locke at the exact same time, and Taryn knew, but she didn't say anything because Locke was playing this little game and he wanted to see, if Taryn loved him enough to not say anything to Jude. So I didn't like her at the end of the first book, but I thought, okay, maybe she's going to do something in this book that's going to make it up to Jude. And she didn't. She made it worse. She goes up to Jude in the beginning of the book and she's like, hey, I know you miss me. Let's be friends again. Come to my wedding. And Jude is like, all right, whatever. So she goes to her wedding, she forgives her, and then Taryn betrays her again. She impersonates Jude and she goes over to Cardan, who is now the king of Elfhame, and she gets him to give over half of his army to Matic, who is the evil dude that raised them and wants to control Elfhame for himself. Yeah. Honestly, if I were Jude, I would not care if Taryn was my sister, because at that point, I would just, all I'm saying is, Taryn better not be alive by the end of this book. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Also, really quick, this is not the Barnes & Noble edition of The Queen of Nothing, which means that I don't have Cardan's letters to Jude in this book, but I did manage to find and read them online. So, did they break my heart? Yes. Did I cry? No, because I don't need my parents bursting into my room at 4 a.m. asking me why I'm still awake. But I was definitely screaming, just in here. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this book, and I will see you all when I have an update. So I'm halfway through the book. I haven't been updating you guys because I just wanted to read as much as possible, but I'm gonna explain what's been happening so far. So basically the last book ends off with Cardan banishing Jude to the mortal world, and then this book starts off with Jude in the mortal world living with her sister Vivi in her apartment, and then Taryn has the audacity to show up on their doorstep and ask Jude for help. And at first, Jude is pissed. She like wants to pop her head off. And then Taryn's like, I killed my husband Locke. I'm pregnant with his baby, and now I have to go to fairy court and tell them that I didn't do it, but I can't lie. So you, my twin sister, can go for me, pretend to be me, and tell them that you didn't do it because technically you didn't. And then Jude is like, all right, fine, you're my sister. I'm gonna help you out. Which is really annoying because just because she's your sister doesn't mean that you can't cut her off. Like, it would be a different story if Taryn at least apologized or showed some remorse for the things that she did to Jude, but she didn't. She just shows up and she's like, you have to help me. And like, I understand that that's the driving point of this book because it gets Jude to go back to Elfheim where she reconnects with Cardan and all of that, but I just wish she would have groveled a little more, you know, like just a little bit. Whatever. And then Jude goes to the trial and Cardan recognizes her on sight. He's like, did you really think that I wouldn't recognize you? Where have you been? Why have you not been responding to my letters? And then like before they could really get into it, because Jude was like, I didn't get any letters. What are you talking about? But before they could get into that, Matic ends up kidnapping Jude, which, if I haven't stated this before, Matic basically killed Jude's parents when she was younger, and then he adopted her, and then he raised her. So he's her stepdad, I guess. But he's like, he's not a good guy. But yeah, she gets kidnapped, and Matic ends up bringing her to this camp, and Cardan goes over there to rescue her with the Roach, who is one of the castle spies. But before they get out of the camp, Jude is like, oh wait, I want to like bail out this prisoner. So they're on their way to bail out the prisoner, but then the Roach ends up getting shot. So Cardan has to take him back to the castle, and while trying to break out the prisoner, Jude ends up running into Matic, and then they fight and she almost dies. And then her sisters come to save her. So Taryn ends up saving her life, and no, I still don't like her, but it earns her some brownie points, I guess. Also, right before Matic leaves them alone, he tells Jude that he sent someone to kill Cardan. So Jude ends up going to the castle. She writes a little note saying that there's going to be an assassination attempt on the king's life, and she gives it to the servants to like pass around so that everybody's aware. And then she's like posted up in the trees looking for this assassin, but surprise, surprise, Matic tricked her. So now, you know, everyone thinks that there's going to be an assassination attempt, and she's the only one there holding a weapon posted up in the trees. So one of like the other spies sees her and shoots her, and then she ends up falling down onto like this table. And everyone in the palace is just like, oh my god, Jude, she was in exile and she just tried to kill the king. Arrest her. And then Cardan stops them and he's like, don't touch her. She's my wife and the rightful queen of Elfheim. I'm just gonna say that I love this book way more than the first two. I love Jude and Cardan in this book. I love that Taryn is trying to have her sisters back for now, unless she ends up stabbing it again. And Cardan telling everybody that Jude is his wife every 5 seconds is just really cute. But yeah, I'm gonna go read now. I'm upset. So first we get that little scene between Jude and Cardan in chapter 21, and then in chapter 22 he tells her that he loves her, and then immediately after that Maddox comes to the palace. He's about to start a war because he wants the crown, and Cardan is like, well, a crown doesn't make a king, loyalty does. So he takes that crown, he breaks it in half, and then he gets cursed and turns into a giant snake, which is destroying all of Elfheim, and the only way to stop it is to kill it. Like, why? Why are you giving me that little bit of joy just to take it away from me? Like, hi, okay, never mind, I'm happy again. Okay, so I finished the book last night, and basically, Jude ended up cutting off the serpent's head, and when Cardan was born, there was like this prophecy. There was this prophecy that said that he was going to be the destruction of the throne and the crown, and only through his spilled blood can a true ruler rise. And everybody thought that, like, whoever killed the serpent would be the true, like, ruler of Elfheim. But no, because Jude cut off the serpent's head, she cut off Cardan's head, she spilled his blood, and then Cardan ends up crawling out of the snake, and he's like, here I am. So then people accept Cardan and Jude as the rightful rulers of Elfheim. They have a proper coronation since, like, they never actually had one before. And then they go to the mortal world with Jude's sisters, Vivi and Taryn, and they have like this pizza party to celebrate Jude and Cardan's marriage because they never really had a proper celebration for that either. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Overall, it was like a really cute, happy ending, and I'm very satisfied with it. If Cardan like didn't come back and Jude like ended up just killing him and that was the end of it, I would have cried. So I'm really like happy with where that book ended. And now we are moving on to How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate stories. I am super excited to start reading this book because, as I said before, the artwork is just absolutely beautiful. I'm going to try to get through as much of this book today as I can. If not, I can always finish it tomorrow because I do have like a lot of things I need to get done today. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this, and I'll see you all in a bit. Okay, so I just finished reading this book and I really, really enjoyed it. This wasn't really like a full-blown story. It was more of random moments from before, during, and after the Folk of the Air series that was told in Carden's perspective, which was really nice because throughout the series we're told by other people that he had like a really shitty childhood, but in this book you get to see firsthand how bad his childhood actually was, and how it impacted him, and that basically made his infatuation with Jude seem way less random. So basically when he's born, everybody hates Carden because there's like this whole prophecy that he's going to ruin the crown, and he tries to get people to like him at first, but that doesn't really work out. So then he focuses on what he can control, and he gets people to just hate him even more, and he makes them fear him, because if people are scared of him, then he essentially has like some form of power. But then Jude comes along, and at first Carden is really mean to her because he thinks, you know, she's human, she's below him, and she should fear him. But she never admits to the fact that she's afraid of him. And on one hand, like, you know, they're kind of the same because she's a human in Fairy, so all of the people in Fairy, they have their minds made up about her. They all think that she's disgusting and they don't like her because they don't like humans. But on the other hand, she's also different from Carden in the sense that, like, he went along with what they thought about him. Like, he didn't try to change their minds, but she is trying very, very hard to fit in and prove them all wrong. And that's basically like why he becomes very like infatuated with her and why he starts to admire her so much. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That was me reading the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. It's not my favorite series in the world, but I definitely did really enjoy reading it. If you've read the series before, be sure to comment down below what you thought of it because I'd love to know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you've made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye, guys!